Casey Anthony competent to stand trial, but the big question still remains, should she take the stand? Donald Schweitzer is a former prosecutor, Tom Caniff, a criminal defense attorney. Tom, why does the defense, this late in the trial, file a motion to have their defendant examined for competency?
Well, remember, John, often people confuse competency with a sanity defense or an insanity defense. The judge is looking for two things when evaluating a defendant's competency: his or her ability to understand the charges against her and assist in her own defense. Now, I imagine that defense attorney Jose Baez probably came forward to the judge at some point, probably in a closed-door session, certainly outside the presence of the jury, and said, look, you know, my client seems to be breaking down emotionally, psychologically, and I have some legitimate questions as to whether she has the ability to understand these proceedings, assist me in her defense, or take the witness stand should I elect to have her testify during the course of this trial. And the procedure when that happens is to have the defendant evaluated by psychiatric professionals and to make a determination. As we heard the judge say, it seems like those professionals who evaluated determined her that she does meet those basic competency requirements.
Donald, I understand that you think there was another motive by Jose Baez when he proposed this competency hearing.
Yeah, I think that you've got one of two situations. Either one, they just forgot to do it at the beginning of the trial, and that's possible in light of the blunders that we've seen in this case. But more likely, they've done it now because they're trying to signal to the jury and to the public that she's not capable of testifying, that she's not competent, and for that reason, they're not going to put her on the stand. I think that the motion is a routine motion that is filed in these types of cases to try to save her if there is a guilty verdict. So it's a tactical decision to do it right when we would expect her to testify. I mean, just think about this. You had Cindy Anthony testify, you had Lee testify, and who's the next witness you'd expect to testify? Casey, right? But instead they start calling scientific experts again, and this may be an indication that we're not going to hear from Casey after all.
Tom, what do you think about that? That's the million-dollar question. Should she take the stand?
Well, first, 2 points. I mean, one, I agree that Baez was probably trying to protect the record and having her evaluated. But I disagree. I don't think this is going to be shielded from the jury. The judge is not going to tell the jury that the defendant was evaluated regarding her competency to stand trial and was determined to be competent. There's no reason for the jury to know that, and I think the judge gave this vague reason as to why they adjourned to protect the jury from that knowledge. As to whether she's going to have to testify, I mean, look, I've said all along, Baez overcommitted himself during the opening statement, and I think he's painted himself and really his client in such a corner that she has no choice but to testify. I mean, short of him getting George Anthony to break down on the stand, the kind of thing you only see on TV, and says, yes, I methodically raped or molested my daughter, and then there was this whole swimming pool cover-up. What choice does he have? He promised the jury something. He now has to deliver. He shifted the burden of proof to himself. That's why you don't do that in a case like this.
So, Donald, that's his evaluation of the defense to this point. But what's your evaluation, Donald, of the prosecution's job so far?
Prosecution's done a great job so far. They've been succinct. I think that Mr. Ashton's done a wonderful job of cross-examining all these experts and really bringing them around to agree with his theories. The only thing that I have to say, though, is that this is not about science. This is about common sense questions. And one of the questions that they have to ask at the end is, why is George not going to testify to an accident? I mean, he's a retired police officer. You would expect him to not panic under an emergency situation. You would expect him to not know how to dial 911. And you wouldn't expect him to throw the body of his granddaughter into a trunk and go and discard her someplace. I mean, those are the common sense questions they're going to have to ask at the end of this case. It's not about the science. It's about the human factors here. And let me say this, is that Cindy Anthony is the key. They're going to have to impeach her and do a better job by bringing something better than her work records to show that she wasn't at work at that time. I think that she was effective and she was very sympathetic.
Donald Schweitzer, a former prosecutor, Tom Caniff, a defense attorney. Thanks.
Thanks, John.
Thank
you, John.